Thanks for dropping in. Today I'm tinkering with a few things. A 1084 monitor, which is here. The magical, beautiful thing about the 1084, I mean, it was meant for the 128. Here we see a screen from a 64 in 40 column mode. But if you open the front door and you have a 128 connected, and you in 80 column mode, and you push this little button, you can use this monitor for the 128 in 64 mode, or the 128 in 40 column mode, or the 128 in 80 column mode, but you could also use it for two machines, the 64 or another 128, or whatever. Just as long as you're connected properly, push the button, and away you go. So, what I'm tinkering with here is, it's funny how you can have cables that are the same and look the same, but aren't quite right. And what I'm talking about is video cables. Because I was just tinkering with this, making sure that the monitor is working well, because it's going to be shipped off to the United States of America. And I thought, well, I'll just grab another video cord and just make sure everything's fine and everything's dandy. But I tried a couple of different cords, and even though they look right, and they have the right number of pins, and they have 3 outputs on them, the screen display looks very different. So I guess what it comes down to is, there were a lot of cables, and they all, had the DIN connector on one end and 3 outputs on the other, but they didn't all, certainly the colors didn't line up right. Now, I didn't tinker to see which colors were just, or which was wrong and which was right, and if they had the right things and such. I just was looking and saying, boy, that, this display looks rather wonderful. And then I would use another cable, and it really didn't look wonderful. So what I'm going to do is, I have to shuffle things a bit here, and then I'm going to get some different screenshots of the different looking outputs and see what is what. So if you are online and you just see a cable that says it's for a Commodore 64 and it looks right, it may be that the colors are just not as they should be, or maybe they're just not there. The thing, I remember when the 64 first came out, we would go to Radio Shack, and there was this magical thing that they had there that would plug into the video output, and it had 4 RCA outputs. It's just a short little cable, and you could connect and do whatever you wanted. And it would take a little experimentation, but you could pretty much use one of those on most any machine, I seem to remember, whether it be the 64. This was a 5-pin cable, so it would work on the 64. The early ones were 5 pins, the later ones were 8 pins, the 128, even, if I remember rightly, the B128 and the P128, or whatever all those variations were. It was sort of like the universal adapter. Once again, you had to tinker with which of the little short cables and which color did what, but it was quite good. But anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is, not all cables have the right colors on the ends of them to do what you think it is you want to do. Does that mean if you tinker, you won't find it? No, you may. I'm just not sure. Anyway, right now, I have this 64. I'm still torturing a 1541 because I can. and I have this monitor which I'm just making sure is all fine, and it is fine. It's dandy, it's beautiful, it's magical. The door is fantastic, it's cosmetically beautiful. So I'm going to go and grab a cable or two, and then you can see some of the differences, and maybe if I tinker, I can figure out which is what and what should be, so that if you do find such another cable out there in the world, you'll have a little heads up on what colors might actually be the correct colors, perhaps. And after that, because I have a 128 here, which I don't normally, look, a 128 in 80 column mode, isn't that beautiful? There's some other things on the 128 that I've been meaning to check out that I just haven't had a chance to check out. So, onward we go. So here we have a shot of the Commodore 64 display using the cable that I have been using, and the colors are quite vibrant and everything is quite dandy and everything is quite wonderful. So I'm going to snag another cable and we'll have a look and see how it looks. So here is the next cable I'm going to try. It is an 8-pin, and it has 3 outputs, yellow, white, and red. And the back of the monitor has 3 inputs that are white, yellow, and red. Here is a quick shot of both the cables. I just removed the one that is black. It also is an 8-pin DIN with yellow, red, and white RCA connectors. I will put the beige colored cable in place. Alright, so the beige colored cable is in place and the display comes up, but I don't know if you can tell from what I'm shooting here, but it is not nearly as crisp. It's like my eyes are not the youngest, but it is not, it just isn't right. So let me just see if I can experiment and see what would make this better, if there is anything. Maybe this cable is just one of those universal things that just doesn't have the right outputs. I will find out. So here I am in the back of the monitor. As you can see, there are the inputs, and indeed they are in the correct colors. And I know that certainly the audio, which is white, is correct. This could, in fact, I don't know, maybe it has 2 audios and it doesn't have the chroma and the luma. We will find out. Well, this is certainly different. So the white one is definitely audio, and the others, well, I switched them, and the output is not pleasing. So here we have the yellow and the red, and the red and the yellow, and the white and the white. Let's see what else we can sort out here. So here we have 2 of the 3 cables in. Certainly we have monochrome. We do. But that's not the idea. It just isn't. I will try one more thing. Well, I have the colors in the right things, but it still doesn't look as good to me. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the 64 on and off so we can just see the startup screen. Well, interestingly enough, this doesn't look as bad as what it did before. I wonder. Why? Mind you, the colors don't look as vibrant as what I remember. Anyway, so I guess I'm going to carry on with a different cable. Well, this is interesting, because what I was finding before, when I was just tinkering on these, is that things looked very different. But more and more, these cables are looking all right. Confusion. So here we are, looking inside the 1541 disk drive that I've been torturing, and I'm just cranking up the Christmas music again. And right now the disk drive is going out and looking for songs. So there's a lot of activity as the head moves back and forth and the drive spins and it figures out what files on the disk are indeed songs that it can play. And then, if we move it over here, we can see the monitor and see that it looks quite fine. So it's funny, earlier on I was tinkering with these 3 different cables and had very different results, but now it's all good. So I'm a little baffled, but these things happen. So I guess as all this is working, I might just as well, I can just reach over here and just play the song Joy to the World. So what I set out to show you did not seem to be at all, although I do know that there are cables out there in the world that are advertised as for the Commodore 64, the 128, that the colors do not line up. It's funny that the ones I had here that I thought I could show you such things actually do line up quite perfectly. But when I tinkered before, it didn't seem so. Maybe I had a bit of a dirty connection. Maybe the 64 was playing games with me, but I don't think so. Anyway, so joy to the world. Life is good. I guess the kind of cables to watch out for that you will have to experiment with for sure are the ones that have 5 or 8 pin DINs and that indeed have 4 RCA cables of different colors that come out, because definitely they were not from Commodore and you will have to experiment. But the good news is that even if you plug the wrong thing into the wrong thing, I've never heard of it doing any damage. Ever. So here we have a beige cable and a black cable. Both are 8-pin DINs with yellow, red, and white connectors. It's funny, you know, because a lot of these, the ones that came from Commodore, often had a Commodore logo on them. These don't. And I swear, earlier on, when I was experimenting with these, the results were different. But now they're not. So, I don't know what exactly led me to think that some of these colors did not line up properly, especially with the sound was always right. It was the other things that were giving me strange pictures. Strange. Anyway, well, I know I have 2 basically identical cables now that are just dandy, so I will set them carefully aside. Oh, look. Here's another one. This one is longer. And this one, oh yes, this one is definitely from Commodore, because adorning, boy, this is long. This looks like 6 or 8 feet. Right up here on the end of the cable, on the upside, so you can't screw it up even though you can only put it in one way, is a Chicken Lips logo. Well, very good. So I have, I guess right here I must have 4 cables that are okay because the monitor is still working and it's all dandy and it's all good. So stay tuned. I'm going to tinker on some 128 things, because now that I've been tinkering on this monitor, as I continue to do, I do want to do a couple of other things just to test out the monitor, but also there's some 128 things. I keep looking at the discs, and a lot of them were Commodore 128 music files that I keep looking at the disc saying, wow, I really should listen to those, but I haven't. So I will continue to, I will shuffle things around here and put the 128 in place and connect the 128, even though it's only to a 1541, and see what it is that these mysterious music discs for the 128 are. But that, as they say, is another story. So, thanks for coming. I hope this was somehow helpful. I'm still a little baffled. But there are worse things. There are. Bye for now. Oh, hello. One last little clip. Indeed showing that there is a Commodore logo on this last cable. Thanks for coming. Bye for now.